Welcome to the 38th chapter of the book of Ezekiel. This chapter is a unusual chapter. It goes along pretty much with chapter 39, although there is a break between the two with our logos and the Lord said. So whether or not, but same places are mentioned in both chapters, but then again, they are separated. So these two chapters are very popular with eschatology. People study eschatology, the end times. Now, I'm not exactly sure when this all started as far as the end times studies. Mainly began probably with the occurrence of the country of Israel becoming a country in 1948. And with it becoming a country, then people studying the prophecies in the prophets saw this 38th and the 39th chapter as something that's going to happen to Israel, and many think that it's something that's inevitable and it's going to happen fairly soon. And a lot of people have been taught that and think that it could be that's going to be in the future, which I believe it is going to be. I don't think it's anything close at hand. I believe it's in the far future, and I'll show you why when we go through there. I think there's evidence to show that it cannot be for right now. So we'll just start now, and we'll go on. It says, "And the word of the Lord came to me, saying." Now so here we start a new section with the word of the Lord. It breaks from the ones before. The previous chapter was in chapter 37. We had the nations, and the reason I'm pausing here. I'm trying to think of how to bring it out, but that the last mention of Jerusalem was in 36. Once 37 started, then we're basically in a different time that Jerusalem is not mentioned any longer in the book of Ezekiel. It doesn't mention Jerusalem here. It does mention Israel, but there's no Jerusalem. And then when we get to the 40th chapter, a new city appears. It's called the city on the high mountain, and it's east of Galilee. So we'll get there in a few more chapters, but right now we're here at 38:1, and it continues, and he says, "O son of man, firmly fix your face against Gog," or Gog, "and the land of Magog." Now, Gog apparently is the ruler of Rosh, Mosok, and Thubal. Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Well, now a lot of people have looking to try to figure out who this is, and because it says Rosh, a lot of people think it's Russia. And church I went to, one pastor thought it could be Mikhail Gorbachev, who was the last, well, he wasn't called president, whatever he was. He was the last head of state of the Soviet Union, and he had this birthmark on his forehead. He was baldish and had this big birthmark, and you could see it, and somehow people tied that into the mark of the beast and so forth. And this was back in, it was before, in the 70s, 1970s. So that was taught, but this Gog, a ruler of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal, prophesy against him. Well, now, these places are all mentioned basically, and goes back into Genesis chapter 10, verse 3, and they come from a line of Japheth, who was a son of Noah. Noah had the three sons, Ham, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Ham did something with his father. It alludes to some type of possibly a sexual thing that was shameful, and Japheth and Shem went in backwards, covered their father's nakedness, And then Noah, when he sobered up, he cursed Ham and his children, who was Canaan, who was the son of Ham, and Canaan became cursed. But Japheth was to dwell in the tents of Shem, but he wasn't cursed as Canaan, and most of these all are from the line of Japheth. And it continues, and it says, and say, thus says the Lord, Kyrios, Kyrios, behold, I am against you, ruler of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. Well, now you can go on the internet and look at all your heart's content and people writing on who they think Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal are. A lot of people think it's Turkey, others think it's Russia, and generally those are the two possibilities that most people allude to. And so I'm against you, and I will lead you about and put a bridle in your jaws, and will gather you in all your force. Horse is a dynamine, a dynamite comes from that. Epus, hippo, hippopotamus, river horse, horses and horsemen, all putting on chest plates, a great gathering, synagogia, synagogue, with small shields and helmets and swords. Now it mentions countries that were at that time, and they're still around today. Persians, it's Iran. Ethiopians down south of Egypt, and the Libyans, which would be west of Egypt, all with helmets and small shields. So these are all today Muslim countries. And Gomer and all the ones around him, the house of Togarmah from the extreme north. Now that's interesting. They're the extreme north, but that would give Russia a if these countries are going to be existing at this time. This could be a long time in the future that Israel is being rebuilt. Somehow the beast is going to take over. I don't know when, how long that'll be after, if it's going to be soon or if it's going to be a long period of time. And then when the beast comes and all the things go bad, worldwide conflagrations, and this could very well have a lot to do with that period of time. All the ones around him, and many nations with you. That was with Gog. Be prepared, prepare yourself, you and all your gathering being brought together with you, and you will be to me for an advance guard. So now the argument, well, that a lot of this is for today. I mean, it's going to be happening real soon. That's a possibility, but it's then here it says, after many more days, he shall be prepared. Now, it doesn't say who the he is unless it's talking about Gog, the ruler of Togarmah. And upon a latter end of years, he shall come unto the land, returning from swords. So the latter end of years, well, that doesn't help us a whole lot, except we know it's at the latter end. Now, we are not at the end yet, I do not believe. And coming a land returning from swords. So being gathered from many nations upon the land of Israel. So this has not happened yet. Israel has had nations attack it, though, of course, in the 3 times it's been at war so far, but it's which was holy. So this is going to happen, and this one comes forth from out of nations, and they shall dwell in peace altogether. Now, I'm not exactly who the they is right there. The nations are going to dwell in peace, and this one being, it's hard for me to understand who these are, and somebody maybe will know this in the future of exactly who this is. It'll fit perfect like a piece of a puzzle. But right now, that puzzle, I don't have a piece to fit it. And you shall ascend as rain, and shall come as a cloud to cover up the land. So this period of time is going to be this giant army coming against Israel, and you shall be, and all the ones around you, and many nations with you. So a large force. Thus says the Lord. And it will be in that day, things will ascend upon your heart, and you shall consider wicked devices. And you shall say, I will ascend upon a land having been thrown away, and I will come upon ones being still at rest and living in peace. Well, I don't see that as Israel today. Sorry. It's not at peace. It's not at rest at all. All dwelling a land in which a wall does not exist. Well, there you go. That couldn't possibly be Israel today. They have the biggest wall of any country in the world between them and the Palestinians. It says a wall does not exist. So this, to me, shows that this is not. It cannot be now. So all the people that have written all these end times to do with the 38th and the 39th chapter, I don't see it. I just don't, because of this wall. It doesn't have these things. Don't. This doesn't sound right. Nor bars. That's in front of gates of cities, and there are not doors among them. Well, they do have. I'm not sure about bars and gates, but anyway, this Gog comes in the nations to plunder, and to despoil spoils. Now, to turn my hand against the place, having been made desolate, which was settled. Well, now you would say, well, this Israel was gone for 2,000 years, and now it's back. And so, what other time could that possibly be? Having been made desolate, which was settled, and against a nation being gathered from many nations, having produced possessions, dwelling upon the navel of the earth, which probably can maybe consider Jerusalem. I'm not sure on that one, but then, yeah, you could. There's an argument there that this is going to happen, but then again, I don't see it because I see certain things that are probably more in the future. And these places are all ancient places, and some of them are still around. This Sabah is we call it Sheba in the King James. I gave it that name, but the Sabaeans down where Yemen is today. Dedan is someplace over towards Edom, and the merchants of Carthage, Carchidoni, that would have been the remnants of the Phoenicians up in Lebanon who went out and down into Carthage, which is in the ruins are in Algiers, Tunisia. And all their towns shall say to you, for plunder are you come to plunder and to despoil spoils? So Israel could very well be taken again, time of the beast. This could be a long time afterwards when this is all going to happen, because in the book of Revelation it talks about Gog and Magog coming back after the 1,000-year reign. Satan is released back from out of the abyss. And so let me grab my book here and put this on hold. So here's our book entities of the book of Revelation, section on Gog. And it says, Gog, and whenever the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, Satan shall be loosed from out of his prison, and shall come forth to mislead the nations, the ones in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together for the war, which the number is as the sand of the sea, going right along with Ezekiel here. So this is what I think Ezekiel's talking about. It's not something that's going to happen soon. Now, Israel could very well be attacked, and things could happen, but these are the things that I see. So it continues, have you gathered together your gathering to take silver and gold, to carry away property, to spoil great spoils? On account of this, prophesy, O Son of Man, and say to Gog, thus says Kyrios, and now this is ties into after the 1,000 year with Satan being released. Thus says the Lord, will you not in that day, in the settling of my people Israel in peace, arise? And you shall, so that after 1,000 years, the people were at peace, because it tells us that in the book of Revelation. And you shall come from out of your place, from the extreme of the north, and join up probably with the Satan, and from the abyss, and many nations with you, all having all riders having horses, a great gathering and a great force. And you shall ascend against my people Israel. It doesn't say Jerusalem, as Israel, as a cloud to cover the land. At the latter end of the days it will be. So see here again, it's just more and more, to me, it's just after the 1,000 years. And I will lead you against my land, that all the nations shall know me, in my being sanctified among you before them. Thus says the Lord, O Gog, you are, concerning of whom I spoke about in former days by the hand of my bondmen, the prophets of Israel. Now, I'm not exactly sure where it's talking about. I didn't see that, but mainly here in Ezekiel. Of the ones prophesying in those days and years to lead you unto them. And it will be in that day, in the day whichever Gog should come against the land of Israel, says the Lord, my rage shall ascend, and my zelos, zeal, transliteration, in piri, pyre, of orgi, anger, an orgy, I spoke. Assuredly in that day there will be a great seismos, seismic earthquake upon the land of Israel, and the fishes of the sea shall shake before my face, and the birds of the heaven, and the wild beasts of the plain, and all the reptiles crawling upon the earth, and all the men upon the face of the earth. And the mountains shall tear, and the ravines shall fall, and every wall upon the land shall fall. And I will call upon him every fear, says the Lord. The sword of a man will be against his brother. So this to me is all at this end time. It's explaining to what we see in Revelation a little bit. And I will judge him by thanato, as death, but whenever it is something to do with these different conditions, it's generally a plague, amati, blood, and kataklizonti, we have a cataclysm, or flooding rain, and stones of hail. And fire and sulfur I will rain upon him, and upon all the ones with him, and upon many nations with him. And I will be magnified, and I will be sanctified, and I will be glorified, and I shall be known before many nations, and they shall know that I am the Lord. This is what's going to happen after the 1,000 years when Satan is released, and Gog comes against the Israel at that time. Now, the Israel at that time, when we get to chapter 40, we're going to find out that it's not the same place that we have the Israel today. We'll see that the southern part of Israel will be extinct. It will be uninhabitable. And it will go all the way across, even to Edom, where Dedan was, where it mentioned Dedan, that probably because of this war, somehow it's going to be where the southern part below Jerusalem will all be a wilderness and uninhabited. It'll go all the way across, even into Edom, and it'll give the boundaries of Egypt, and we'll get into that here soon. We'll go from the south will be at Dedan, which I believe is this right under Jerusalem at the top of the Dead Sea, all the way up to the Hamath, the entrance of Hamath, which is up almost by Turkey, and that will be, then the city built on a high hill will be the head, and that will be east of Galilee. We'll get into all that here real soon, but first we'll go into chapter 39 and finish up with this war of this Gog, the ruler of Magog, and the release of Satan. Hope you'll join us in 39 interesting things, and God bless.